Okay. So welcome everyone to Coaching for Coaches free community call. Today is going to be all about your perfect coaching practice. So it's gonna be a little bit of Q&A, a little bit of teaching, a little bit flowy tonight, because we really want you guys to be set up for success of what your actual coaching practice looks like, so you can actually get the clients and fit them into the spots that you do have. So with that, if there's any time we're asking for questions or responses, you can either raise your little virtual hand using one of the reactions at the bottom of the Zoom bar, or you can just kind of unmute yourself, because sometimes we just go with that. If you have any technical problems, you could send me a private message and I'll help you out. But with that, Gretchen, would you like to come back?
I would. Hi, happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
That's why I'm wearing the hat. Okay, but I'm going to take it off now because I think it might be too distracting for me as I'm looking at you to look at me in my sombrero. But I wanted to just be funny and light. So happy Cinco de Mayo and happy coming to First Wednesday so that we can talk about your perfect practice and what that is like and what it actually really means. Tonight I'm gonna talk to you a little bit. We're gonna have some Q&A and we'll just flow the way that we always do. So let's kind of get started. I wondered for all of you, when you think of your perfect practice, either put it in the chat or unmute. Raise your hand and then I'll call on you. Let's do that. And let's talk about, what do you think a perfect practice is? What does that actually mean to you? Eva.
Happy Cinco de Mayo. I've got my limes, my avocados. I'm so ready.
That's great. That's great.
I would say a perfect practice is the right amount of clients at the right amount of investment for, the amount of time that I'm willing to put in.
Yeah, good. So the right amount of clients for the right amount of investment for the right amount of time that you're willing to put in. That's one element of perfect practice. And Neela, I saw your hand. How do you define perfect practice?
Well, it's pretty much everything Eva said, along with working with the kind of clients that I really enjoy working with, and doing the kind of work that makes me happy so that it's very mutual.
Yes, those things are important. When we are working with clients, one of the things that makes our practice perfect is working with clients that we adore. They excite us. We are invigorated by working with them. You will know that you are out of alignment with your perfect practice if you have clients that it's like, ugh, and there's a little bit of dread, or if you feel really in over your head. It means that you have some room to grow into the practice, but you're probably not at the level with this particular client yet that you want to be. So those are things to consider. Something else that I think would be interesting for us to talk about, because there's always so much talk about success. Success in coaching, and what does success look like in coaching? And success really goes with your perfect practice. So again, you can either put it in the chat or raise your hand. I would love to hear some ways that you define success that aren't monetary, that have to do with your practice. Heba, I see your hand.
Yeah, I was thinking it goes along also with everything everybody said about perfect practice. I think a combination of individual coaching, group coaching, some public speaking in the nonprofit arena that would excite me, the ability to have time to do some pro bono work, combination of all that.
Good. Who else wants to share either about your perfect practice or the way that you would define success? Michael.
So I have both. For me, a perfect practice right now would look like 7 one-on-one clients that I really like working with. A full program, my program that I am developing, and then also an offline or a self-directed version of that. And a success to me would be, obviously monetarily, I'd be making what I want, but it would leave me time for exercise, personal growth, and relaxation. So in other words, a perfect practice would not be wall-to-wall clients and work. It would leave me time for those things.
Yes, that's key. And, you know, so here's something to think about. Take out a piece of paper or have something that you can type on. What is the key way that you want to feel when working? And this is important, you know, because we are driven by our feelings. We're driven by money. We're driven by feeling. We're driven by title. We're driven because we need to pay the mortgage, those sorts of things. But if everyone can think about the way that you want to feel, you can build your practice around the feeling. So for me, the way that I want to feel in business is I want to be at ease. I really want to feel that I'm at ease when I'm working. Ease allows me to fully show up for my clients. It allows me to have enough time for client creation. Ease to me also means that I have whatever the amount of income is that I either feel like I need or that I'm going for. And ease means something about my being, that when I'm in ease, I am not in that frenzied state that I might get into. I am naturally a person that I can walk around with a lot of extra energy and get a ton of stuff done. While that is good, I don't always produce my best unless I'm in an easy, natural flow. So, and I love that. I love, Christy, yours is to feel calm. Who else has one that they want to share? How do you want to feel as you're working in your coaching practice? Adam.
I want to feel like I'm having fun. I don't want it to feel like my 9 to 5.
Yeah, like you're having fun. Good. Stephen, I saw your hand.
Mine was actually like having fun, just being energetic and light, just feeling that way. That way I can be kind of like a blank slate for the client.
Good. Honor, I saw you type something in the chat. You want to share it?
Yeah, I just said I want to feel authentic. Like I'm not faking it, like it's real.
Yeah, I love that one. You know, really authentic. I'm not faking it. We show up so differently when we feel that way. Matt, go ahead, share with us.
Yeah, I think for me, it's feeling accomplished. Like I'm doing kind of a hard, not a hard, but like a good day's work, a good week's work. Like I feel like I set out to achieve what I wanted to and feel like I can show up confidently in every single session. So, you know, I'm 100% myself at the best of my abilities.
Love that. Here's why this is important to know is the way that we want to feel will be directly related to who we're being. So think of what you just said of how you want to feel in your business. For me, if I want to be in ease, then I need to make sure that I am not in the being of being frenzied or anxious. We all have a saboteur, you know, and there's a great, what is it called? Assessment. I'm going to find the link and I'll drop it in the chat, all about your saboteur. And for me, mine really has a lot to do with like anxiety. And so when I'm in an anxious state, even if I'm saying that I want to create ease, I have to be careful of my being because our being directs our actions. So think about yourself for a moment. What is your default being? The one that it's not the being that you necessarily want to be, but it's the one that sometimes it's like, yep, that's my default. This is my go-to behavior if I'm not careful with it, if I'm not paying attention. Anyone want to share? Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, it's definitely anxious.
Anxious. Liz, what about you?
Repeat the question again. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. What is your default being?
Like for my coaching, just in general.
In general, yeah. What's your go-to, your default? You know, for me, mine is like kind of anxious if I'm not watching it.
Yes, anxiety and like that constant need to like achieve success.
So here's why. Thank you, Liz. And here's why these things are important. Knowing your default being will help you to become very cognizant to the other way of living. So for me, if I'm in anxiety, but I want to feel ease, I have to then invite myself to step into different behavior. Different behavior does not always create ease for me. It can take a minute, but it gets me out of anxiety. And so whatever your default is, think of what the things are that you can do to counteract it. So for me with anxiety, what I have to do, usually there's an action that I need to take. You know, what do I need to do in this moment, either to ground myself or to soothe myself? What do I need to remember about who I want to be? So I want to be ease in the world, but if I'm showing up as anxiousness, I usually can feel that during my first coaching call of the day. And I have to remember, oh yeah, I just didn't do all of the things that I need to do to fill myself up to be this other thing. So think about your own, it's kind of like thinking about a soothing technique for yourself, or a reminder for yourself that if you step back into your default being of what can you do right away to flip the switch? So I hear, Eva, I see this default is just doing, always active, Swiffering calms me, anything productive. Yeah, it's good to know. So does anyone have anything that you guys can share about what can help you flip your switch from that default to how you really do want to show up? Heba.
Sorry, I was going to type it in. So
no problem.
Well, you know, being that Neela and I both have completed the positive intelligence work, I do a lot of grounding through PQ repping, like the breathing, the touching, the sort of centering your body, that seems to really bring sort of the right brain into play, and it lowers all of the chatter of the busy mind. So it helps go from frontal lobe anxiety to sort of that being.
Yeah, and it's a practice, and it really is like flipping a switch. That's the truth, is that any of these behaviors, if we don't pay attention, it's like lights are on and here's my old way. But if you flip the switch, you can choose a new way. And so the reason that this is an important conversation tonight is, as you are at this point where you get to create what you feel like your perfect practice is, it's really important to define your own way of deciding what success is, how you want to feel, and how you want to be, and to look at who you're naturally being, how you wake up in the morning, that might be different than that feeling or the being that you're going for. I'd love to hear what else you're getting from this. What are you thinking? What is this raising for you? Go ahead, Neela.
I think it's really a lot about the oxygen mask on yourself and making that into a priority in whatever way. So noticing that you're not centered, and then just at least taking that moment to decide that you want to be. And then, you know, everything you're saying about what actions work for you, and start getting into a routine. But it's desiring that it's important, and you want to feel good about this whole thing.
Yes, yes. Michael.
I want to piggyback off what Christy put in the chat, and what other people are saying is the self-care, because I had a situation where I lost my cool with someone I was dating, and it damaged the relationship because, you know, I didn't go overboard, but my tank was empty. You know, I'm in a helping profession, so I'm helping people, and then I got other people that are not paying me that you know, I've committed to helping, and so I needed to fill my tank. If I don't fill my tank with allowing myself to depend on somebody else to blow off steam and to, like, you know, let them help me, or to ask for that help, my tank's going to be on empty, and the interactions, even if they're really important to me, are likely to suffer if I go into them with an empty tank.
Yeah, that's really important for us to know in our industry as well. Christy, did you want to share on this with the self-care?
Yes, self-care is actually something that I coach a lot of people through as well. I burned out, and that's actually how I became a coach, but that's a longer story. But now I very much protect my time of, like, when I get up in the morning, I get up very slowly, very intentionally. And I also wind down at the end of my day. And because this also happened to me when I was working a 9 to 5. It was like a 12-hour job, not an 8-hour job. My breaks are very important to me. And I've noticed working with some other people, either coaching them or consulting with them, that they overrun their own breaks. Have your breaks. It's sacred time. Take your breaks. That's like my main little tidbit there.
Yeah. Here's the thing with that. As entrepreneurs, for a lot of us, a lot of people, this is the first time that you've ever run your own business. And so while that is exciting and wonderful and full of possibility, it also can feel really overwhelming. For many new entrepreneurs, they're only focused on the money. I have to make money. I have to make money. I have to make money. And that's what's going through their head. And so through that filter, what happens is anxiety. They never get to really find it because all they're thinking about is, I have to make money. I have to produce. I need to pay the mortgage. I took a chance. But they're not being mindful about what they really ultimately want to create. And so with this, think about what you want to create. For me as a coach, I want to create the legacy that I have made an impact with each client that I have served. It's really important. And that ripple from the impact that we've created in session changes other people in their life because of who they get to be from the coaching. And so when you think about that you have this rare opportunity to really decide what it is that you want and how you want to show up, it's important to decide what you're focusing on. And so while money is there, and it's one thing, and yes, it's important, there are other ways that you're going to need to be able to define success. So think of success for a moment and just write down a few things that you think of that are non-monetary with success. I know that I've had a successful week if I have not done exactly what Christy has just said. I have not honored my own breaks. She calls me on it all the time. She helps me in many different ways. And that's one of the things she's like, except you said you want to have this many minutes between clients. Why does your calendar look like this? And I need that. It's very, very helpful. Success non-monetarily means that at the end of the day, I'm not so fried from all of the coaching that I've done that I can't spend time with my kids or my husband in a kind way. I can spend time with them, but is it in a kind way? Is it in a connecting way? Or have I already given up all of my connection with the people that I coach? That's success to me when I can go to the dinner table and I'm not like, okay, nice guys, peace out, mom's done. And sometimes it feels like that if I'm not protecting my time. Success for me looks like freedom. I really like to not start until about 10 a.m. I want to exercise in the morning. I want to pray. I want to meditate. I want to make sure I'm grounded. I want to make sure I've already gone through my emails so that I'm not tempted to email and coach at the same time. And coaches do that, right? We do scattered coaching. It's just part of what happens if we are not filled up. So that's what success might look like. Tell me for some of you, what does success look like? Non-monetary success. Balance. Yeah, balance is good. Eva, go ahead.
Positive feedback from my clients. When my clients say, wow, I hadn't thought of that. Wow, thank you. That's success is if you've made like a real aha moment with a client.
Yeah, it's a great way to measure. How else do you define success? What else is important to you? Impact. Fully present in every session, predictable and sustainable income, energy for work and life, proud of myself at the end of the day. I want Marissa's. I like that one. Yeah. So if it's not clear for you what success looks like, I would encourage you to take some time to journal about it or to get peer coaching or to go to your own coach with, because it has to be for more than just money. Yes, it's copyrighted, Marissa, don't worry. You know, if you're only doing it for money, there's a lot of other jobs out there. There's a lot of other jobs that are much simpler than coaching and don't require as much of you mentally and with what we need to do to be able to learn the art of the sale. So if it's only about money, I would encourage you to find a different career path just because it will be simpler on you. And that's really the truth. So figure out what success in coaching looks like and know it. For me, it really is that legacy work. It's the impact. It's the knowing that people are different because of the time that we've spent together. And it needs to be big and important. The other thing that can happen when you're running your own business is you're doing all the jobs. You know, when we first start out and maybe there's not the income coming in that we might like to have for support, we're suddenly our own IT department. We're the scheduler, we're the biller, we're the coach, we're the promoter, we're the marketing person, we're our own CEO, and we're tired. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Have this experience? Yeah, we're just doing all the jobs. So something else that pretty early on would be good for you to figure out is, how do you want to spend your time? And think of it, it can be a pie chart, whatever, however visual you are. If coaching is X amount of time on your calendar, and for me, you know, coaching, I coach about 80% of the time. But how do I get to that 80% with the other 20? You know, what does that look like during my work week? And then you work backwards from there. So you want to think about, what are the marketing activities that need to be done? What are the connection calls that have to happen? What are the outside resources that you might need some help with? You know, having a good client relation management system is key for success as a coach so that you can be organized and not wasting time. So what are those things that need to happen, systems that need to be put into place? Because as entrepreneurs, we're building our businesses from the ground up. So I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the systems? And we're going to have a First Wednesday's call on this next month, but just as a little bit of a teaser, what are some of the systems that you have used that have made your life easier as a coach, as an entrepreneur? Stephen.
Yeah, actually, I had a session with Christy about all the, was it just the things to help yourself with the IT stuff. And I got Acuity, the scheduling software, and it just automatically makes everything just look so much more professional. And then you just go on the website and there's your schedule with the days that you're available. And it just made me, it took a little like a load off, because usually I was starting out and I'd be like, okay, well, I'm free at this arbitrary date and time because, you know, I just have this free time. But now I feel a little bit more focused and more professional overall.
Good. That's really important. Adam, what's the system you use?
So something super basic that I really enjoy is using Google for my calendar. I had like 3 different calendars before that, and Google integrates with Zoom and Acuity, and just simplified my life very well.
Good. Thank you. Anyone else have one that they can share? Something that makes your life and your systems easier as a coach? What's simplicity, Christy?
I was just echoing Adam.
Okay, got it.
I have some programs, but that's just me geeking out. I don't think you guys want to hear me geek out for like 20 minutes.
You will though, next month.
Yeah.
It'll be all you. So Christy is our resident know everything on systems. So if you ever need any help, reach out to her. She can systematize you really fast, and she's excellent at it. So something that you may want to do is really take a look at your scheduling system and the way you keep track of your clients' notes and their contact information. Both things are going to help you tremendously to be efficient. Things like your forms as well, having that stuff pre-prepared, that you already have a contract that's ready, you have a welcome email, you know what you're going to say, you know how they're going to pay you, having that pre-set up so that you're not recomposing every single time you onboard someone, that's going to help you. So write down for some homework, think about your systems process. How do you onboard your clients? What's your system for potential clients? How do you follow through with them? How do you follow up? How often? What makes sense? What kinds of things do you send them? And it's not that all of this should be cookie cutter, cut and paste, but some of it is. Some of it is. And we like to make sure that we are adding whatever we need to in order for it to be personal, but you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Good entrepreneurs rinse and repeat what's working. You do not want to do the same thing over and over. It is a waste of your time and will take you away from your high-paying activities. Okay, so let's pause there. Give me a little feedback. What are you getting from that? Stephen.
I really like the rinse and repeat what works. That just kind of shifts, something kind of shifted for me there, but I really like that idea.
Yeah, good. Heba, I saw your hand too.
I just got that streamline, I mean, that's what I heard. And the way I work it out is that I love making the forms in advance, and I just label them template, and I have them in a welcome packet. So they're lined up exactly how they work for each client. They get manipulated slightly if there's a change, but the forms are already pre-planned.
Yeah. And that's Christy's word with the simplicity. We want it to be simple, because here's the thing with coaching. It takes a lot to coach effectively. All of our being has to be activated. You need to be listening from the top of your head to the tips of your toes if you want to do it well. And if you want to gain more clientele, and if you want the kind of clients that you want instead of the ones that you're just happy somebody's paying you. There's a difference, and it will all start with that who you're being, but the way that you're being will be supported by your system. So it's amazing how it all goes together. We have this idea of our perfect practice. We have an idea of success. We have a feeling that we want, but we have this way of being. We try to trick ourselves out of it, turn a new light switch, and then we have systems that support it. So for me to have ease, I need systems in place, or else I can be very anxious. So help yourself to create what you need so that you can go out there to be successful in whatever way that means to you. All right, so let's talk about some of these other things. Here's something that I encourage all of you to do. With your 2022 calendar, or even just the rest of 2021, if you do have a scheduling system, I want you to decide when you have free time for the rest of the year to see your clients. What is your client time? Put it in your calendar. These are the times that you're going to coach. And you need to own it and create it, because if you don't, it becomes willy-nilly, and it's like, oh, well, maybe it's here, maybe it's there, and it becomes too frenzied. And all of those things with our natural state of default being come into place. So claim it, claim that time. Even if you don't have any client at that time, you write it down that this is a time that I will be coaching clients. Here's an amazing thing that happens. Anytime I have ever created a program and I wasn't sure, like, am I really going to fill it? If I had it on the calendar, it gets full. Sometimes it's at the last 2-week mark. Sometimes it's the last day, but it fills, because I have already put down the intention that that is my time, that it is going to be full. So it's sort of like pulling your best idea for your future into the present and claiming it. What I'd also like you to do is write down your self-care time on your calendar. Michael surfs every day, when he's not hurt, but like, when do you surf? When do you do these things? When do you go to your doctor's appointments? When do you have time for yourself spiritually? That's important. And you need to make sure it's there every day, and that it's non-negotiable. It is equally as important as the paycheck, because without it, there is no paycheck. No one wants to hire you because you are not friendly or a good coach if you're empty. We're short fused because we listen so much. And to listen well, we have to be open and really have all cylinders firing. The other thing that might be important to put into your calendar is when you want to go on vacation. So I have 3 weeks off in July, and it always looks crazy whenever I write it down. And I do it every single year that I have these 3 weeks off in July, and I don't see clients during that time. And it's like, but what do you do when you work with people for a year and this is happening and that is happening? You let them know. You let them know that that's just what it is, and you extend the contract or whatever you need to do, but claim your time. I go through the whole calendar and I look at, for me, how long do I want off at Thanksgiving, at the holidays, and the new year? I always like to take some time in March, April, or May, because we need to be rejuvenating ourselves. But if you don't claim it, you will have clients at those times, or doctor's appointments, or life. So make sure that you claim your vacation time as well. Something else to look at is, when are you going to do your client creation? That doesn't just happen. You need to make sure that with the client creation, you have time that you are working on it. How many hours a week do you want your client creation to have the kind of success, both monetary and non-monetary, that you're hoping for? And I'll pause there. Dory, hello. I know you have a question. Go ahead.
Hey, it's been a while. How are you?
It's been a while. I'm so happy to see your square.
I finally was able to log in. I was having issues, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. My biggest thing is creating the client, but on the scale of, because as you know me, I'm still going through that whole process. It's not 100% guaranteed just yet, but I'm processing from my normal everyday, as we would say, 9 to 5, to creating the client. So how do I block off that time, knowing that I'm not guaranteed, for lack of better words, 9 to 5 type of thing?
That is such a good question. Thank you for asking it. I would not have thought of that. So a lot of you are balancing a job, a job, and then your life coaching career that you're trying to launch. So I call this the straddling phase. When I was straddling, PR and life coaching, I just had to block it off. So Dory, for those of you that you really can't be off of work because you're getting paid by an employer for working a certain amount of time during a very stringent time schedule, you'll have to decide how many nights a week and from what time to what time, or how much time on the weekend and from what time to what time. And sometimes that starts slowly. Maybe you only have 6 hours, maybe it's only 4, but make them count. That when you're doing it, you know that you have enough energy left, or energy to start with during the day, to be able to do both, because we don't want it to be the burnout. Dory, is that helpful? Did that answer it?
Absolutely. You always answer. I miss you. I heart you. You know how
I heart you too.
I know. She's my Virgo, or my Leo sign. It's been a while, but yes, the answer is perfectly to where I just need to block off that specific, whether it's 2 days, 1 day, 3 hours. Thank you so much, Gretchen. Thank you.
You're welcome. And let's say this, let's say that you've blocked off the time, but there's no client. You still use that as coaching time. So today I had a client who, for whatever reason, she thought her appointment wasn't today, which is always really hilarious, because if you've ever been on my scheduler, you know when your appointment is, but that's fine. I did not decide oh, well, I guess I won't work now. I have other things to do. You will have other things to do. If something comes up, but you have it marked up, this is coaching, and you don't have a client, use it for marketing time, use it for client creation time, but be working on your business. We have to claim it and we have to build it, especially in the early parts of entrepreneurism. And even that, now that I've been doing this for a while, I still have very dedicated time to when I need to be doing client creation. And you can think of it as turning on a faucet. The more time you dedicate to turning on your faucet or seed planting, the more you're going to have coming through. If you notice that either your bank account is not full or your calendar, you probably need to turn on the faucet and do some of those money-making activities. Now, if you're not sure what those are, you can get the book, The Prosperous Coach. And there are tons of them in there that will help you. And I encourage everyone to read that book more than once. It's really something that's going to help you in a different way than some of the things that you hear about the way to build clientele. And it's a system that I have found to really be tried and true, and that it works. These different ideas that Steve Chandler and Rich Litvin share, these are the things that work to really build a prosperous business. Okay, so now that we've talked about claiming your time, let's talk about how you want to fill it. There's a lot of options as coaches. We can do group coaching, you can do individual coaching, you can do VIP days, accelerator days, intensive, whatever cute name you want to give them. You might do speeches, there might be workshops, but think about which of those things would excite you the most. So that's the first bucket, is which of those activities excites you the most? And then it's which ones do you feel like will be the easiest to get? Because they can oftentimes be very different. Sometimes, even if you're excited about speaking opportunities, they are not as easy to get as maybe a workshop. So think about those things for yourself, because what I'm going to ask you to do next is on your calendar, for the one that excites you the most, make room for it. Put it on there. If you want to speak, pick a day that you think you're going to speak. And either you go out and you figure out where you can speak, or you create your own speaking opportunity. We don't wait for the things that we want to come our way. We have to create the path. And then for the ones that's like, but it'll be easier to do this other thing, you're going to create that too. But we need a mix of what might be easier, but what excites us. And then later they converge, that it becomes the same thing. I'd love to hear your feedback on that. Michael.
So a lot of what was in the Prosperous Coach really resonated with me, particularly about the way of being and about showing up and just being of service. And that, transformed my client creation practice. However, I do weave in a lot of the internet marketing and the internet tools available, because I am passionate about it. And I think because I'm passionate about it, and I have, I come from that world, and I also come from like the, writing, I utilize a lot of the tools that are on the internet. So I feel like I embody both.
Good. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have to do what the thing is that feels right for you. Yeah. Who else would like to share something that's percolating, something that you're thinking about?
I have a thought, Gretchen. I am just starting out doing this professionally full time, even though coaching has been part of my executive career for quite a while. And right now, all of it excites me a lot. And I'm like, speaking, yeah, that sounds awesome. Workshops, cool, let's do it. Group coaching, ooh, that would be fun and interesting. And like, my head is kind of spinning, and I don't want to close doors this early, because I want to learn about, like, in practice, what do I actually enjoy and where am I most impactful? So I kind of want to like taste everything at the buffet, but I don't want to overwhelm myself with an unreasonable amount of work or time or headspace. So I didn't have an easy answer for your prompt of which excites you most and put it on the calendar, and putting everything on the calendar doesn't sound reasonable either. So that's what's kind of percolating for me.
Yeah, that's great. And so I will just speak to that, and then Honor, I'll call on you. So here's the thing. Sometimes it's a matter of breaking it up. So maybe you start with speaking to see if that can lead to a workshop, to see if it can lead to a group. And you just decide, but maybe you don't do all of the things in the same month. Or maybe you start with a one-on-one client and decide to do a speaking thing as well, so it can lead to more one-on-one clients. So it's really kind of systematic, depending on, is your end game group coaching or is your end game one-on-one clientele? Because they're different. And for some coaches, they have a nice, robust half and half. It's like, well, I do the group coaching to get the individual clients in an easier way. It takes some of the time that we need during our connection calls away, because they've already experienced you. But then there's a lot of time on the front end then of seeding your group. So some of it is, what would excite me and what would I enjoy the most to start with as I'm playing? Because right now, Marissa, you just get to play, you get to create it all. Yeah, thanks. Honor, I saw your hand.
I totally love that. And Marissa, maybe I really resonate with that too. So what I kind of took from it is, you're throwing out the net, and I want to do all of the things. And so I'm trying to get all of them in to see like who's going to bite, instead of, you know what, this month I would like really a speaking engagement. And so I'm going to focus my energy and my intention on speaking, or this month I want a group coaching and I'm going to focus my attention. And I haven't really done that. I've just been like, okay, let's throw out that, not even a net. It's more like a hook, and hopefully something bites. Who knows what it's going to be. So I like the idea of being more intentional about what I want to bring in. And if I enjoy it, great, I'll do more. But maybe the next time I'll do the next thing. But I also, what you just said, Gretchen, about one will lead into the other. They kind of fit. I just love that. So that's what I got.
Good. I'm glad, and with that too, something that you can do is, let's say that you've always wanted to try speaking and you always have wanted to try a group. Speaking is a great thing that can lead to a group. So you'd start with the speaking and then put on your calendar that this could lead into it being a 6-week program or whatever you might build. So there's lots of ways to try everything. And it's something else too that you might want to think about with the excitement level of, if I do this, what's my greatest hope? Will this lead to the monetary success? And will this lead to the other success that I have written out? Because sometimes things are just busy, it's just more task work. So I could probably have a different type of group running, every 2 months if I wanted to. I don't want to. That's just more work for me when I'm thinking of all of the freedom that I want. So always bring it back to your litmus test of, what does a successful coaching practice look like in the way that I define success, with the feeling that I want that isn't my default, but the one that I want to create and step into? Okay, Dory, I saw that you had another question.
Thank you. And what she just asked was actually part of what I had to ask. Sometimes I wonder, the self-doubt, let's be honest, like the self-doubt of me saying, what do I have to add as far as value goes to this situation? So if I do the group session, and, or as you said it, sometimes it's not a speaker, it's a workshop, it's a group and or a one-on-one, but what do I have to add to this? And some of my own, I guess for lack of a better word, self-doubt comes in, like, I'm just a person. So how do I get over that portion?
It's such a good question. A lot of practice. So one of the things to do is to start with what you're the most comfortable with. If you're going to speak or you're going to do a workshop, you want to start small and you want it to be comfortable. I always encourage, when people are feeling this situation of like, I don't know, start with something that it's like a 20-minute talk. A 20-minute talk can turn into a 2-hour workshop. A 2-hour workshop can turn into a 6-week, 6-month program. You'll know if it's a win based on the feedback, but you start small so that you can feel your own comfort level and your own confidence level. So that's usually the way that I encourage coaches and the other entrepreneurs that I work with to do it, is start with something that you can speak about that really excites you. You know it. You feel confident in this area. Then see where you can open it up to a 2-hour workshop, hour and a half even is fine. That would have exercises and could showcase you maybe doing some spot coaching. It would feel fun for you. Still a little nerve-wracking, but it's like, okay. And then from there, if there's a good response, it's like, I know I could make this into 6 weeks. I know this could be something for 6 sessions. So you build on it. I always leave myself a trapdoor with everything, just in case I have something that I might have thought would be great, but it really isn't. It's like, well, I don't ever have to do that again. So start small, start with something where you're testing it. And then you get to see, was it really a good fit? Did it hit the way that you had hoped? Christy, I see your hand.
Yeah, it was kind of piggybacking this about all of this. I like to try things out because I want to try all the things. But I always do a check-in afterwards. I'm like, did this excite me even after, or did this exhaust me? And if it exhausted me, especially afterwards, I probably won't do it again because I want things to be more like life-giving and calm, back to my word of calm. And I've had things before that was like, yeah, I did it. I made money off of it, but I didn't really like it. So I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah. And that goes back to exactly what we were talking about. There are so many ways to make money, but not all of those ways make us excited or fill us up. Some of them are a real drain. It's almost like, yeah, I can do it, but I'm really going to have to trudge while I'm doing it. It's just not worth it. Anything that you're going to dread, pick something else to make money. And there's a lot of choices for how you're going to do that. Now, here's something else to consider for a lot of people who are new to coaching. We focus a lot on getting the one-on-one client. And while that's fine and there's nothing wrong with it, it causes some people great anxiety and dread to hold a coaching container for 3 months or 3 weeks or whatever it might be, because they just don't feel, they don't have their sea legs yet. So if that's you, you can create a series of workshops instead. You know that there are only this many minutes on this particular topic, so you have more control. In coaching, it's always the coach's choice. Per our ICF core competencies and guidelines, they tell us the topic and we go with it. For some coaches, that's scary because it's like, well, what if I don't know how to coach that? And what if I'm afraid? And what if they want to talk about making $1 million and I've only made, $100? How do I do it? And they're scared. But in a workshop, when you already know your talking points, you'll feel safer. So if that's you, it's completely okay. Start in the way that makes you feel comfortable. Comfortable will build confidence. Confidence builds the competence. I just made that up. I think that was actually very good. Christy's going to write that down as a quote. Okay, so let's talk this through. You did too. Thanks, Story. So here's the other thing. Think about how many clients you want to work with per week, and then let's break that down per day. So I always take Fridays off. I can't coach 5 days in a row anymore. I used to when I started because I was just willing to take in whoever would pay me, and I only thought of success as money. That was my only barometer of, was I successful? I didn't have to work in corporate anymore. And so I must be successful because I'm making enough money to fill in the blank, pay my mortgage, put my kids in soccer, whatever the things are for you. As I evolved as a coach, money became far less important than all of the other areas that I counted as success, like my mental health, like resting, like being creative, like having friends, like not being burnt out. So now I only have the 4 days that I coach. And I don't want to coach anymore more than 5 people a day. The reason for that is I get burnt out. I can't listen that long, and so I also have to build in breaks in between. So for you, when you think about it, how many slots, client slots, do you want to have on your board? 12 for me is great. 12 is a perfect number. It's a great amount of people for me to serve where I can really serve them at a high level and be in their world. If I have 12 and then a couple of groups running, plus I teach, like that is more than enough for my capacity level. I am perfect at that. If I start getting to 15 clients, 18 clients, I'm not as good of a coach. If I have those other things going on, if I don't have a group, then I take on more individuals. And so figure out for yourself when you think about it, even if you have, 8 hours a day on your calendar, I don't know that you would want to spend all 8 hours coaching. In the beginning, it sounds good, like, but I'll be really busy and I'll have a full practice. Not for long, not for long, because you'll be too tired and people don't come back when they don't get great service. Comments there? I'd love to hear what's resonating with you.
When you were first figuring that out, do you recommend we think first about just energy levels and our ideal day? Or is it like a mathematical exercise on how much revenue we want to make in a month and therefore how many clients we need to hit that target? Like there's a few ways to build it.
My honest answer of how I figured it out was I took every single client that said yes, and then gave them not the best service because I was too tired. This is just honest, not being like, and I'm the master coach. This is the truth. Mm-hmm. And then I was always resentful at my family and too tired. That's how I learned it. I like your approach better of get mathematical about it. Mm-hmm. What would you like to earn? How many slots do you need to fill that? And then what's the best way to see that? Is it through a speech, a workshop, individual, group, or a combo? Yeah. And so when you think of your yearly income of like, I'd like to make $40,000 from coaching, whatever your number is, And from that, I'd only like to work 20 hours a week coaching. Remember, there's still all of the other tasks. That's just client hours. I'd like to work 20 hours a week with clients. And then you figure out, okay, so here's what my packages would need to be. Here's how many people I can take on at that capacity. Eva, I saw your hand.
My Wi-Fi is really unstable, but I was just going to say, I love the aha that we are in control. I only want to work 12 to 5, so I have the morning for me, self-care and other creative. So I sort of like, I was trying to do it, but I love the permission that you're sharing that, yes, absolutely. If you're an entrepreneur, you can create when you work and when you want to play. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So we're getting close to the end of our hour. I'd love to hear some of the things that you want to commit to between now and our next First Wednesday. What are some of the actions that you want to take to start creating your perfect practice in a way that feels like success for you?
I know I was late to the game, but can I speak? Do you mind?
Yeah, please do, Dory.
So my biggest thing is, and like I mentioned to you before, you know a little bit of my history, so you know what I'm talking about. The way that I would like to commit is to, I thought it was brilliant how you added into just, even if it was just a couple of hours a month, not necessarily a week, but how many hours a month do you want to dedicate to coaching? So for me, I can, knowing my schedule and what's going on with me and different things along that line, my takeaway moment will be just dedicating maybe just 2 hours every other week, or 3 hours, whatever it may be. Table talk, coaching, advertising, marketing, whatever the case may be. So that was good for me. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Dory. Janine, how about you? I want to make sure that you get time to speak if you want to share.
I think all the information was outstanding. It's great. And I mean, me personally, with my situation and not having that 9 to 5, I really want to take away all of this information. But the biggest thing for me is just claiming that time and just building it in there for everything that we talked about today.
Good. Awesome. Good. I'm so glad to hear that. Stephen.
I really like the idea of starting small and building off of like those small successes and just testing things out. So I think we already talked about doing like some small module things on Stairway to Six. So I think I'll just be kind of implementing those.
Fantastic. Who else? What do you want to commit to? What did you get?
I'm going to put a group coaching program on the calendar, the one that we talked about in our one-on-one today, Gretchen, to manifest that into reality. And hopefully on the next call or two that we're all together as a group, it'll be a real thing that's sold. And then I'm going to put in my ideal client windows. A lesson that I learned the hard way that maybe none of you will have to after I did it. I had a client who wanted to say yes, but she has a full-time job and thought it would be better after she puts her kids to sleep and after a full day of work. So we signed, our agreement is to do a window of coaching that starts at 8 p.m. And after the first one, I was like, oh my gosh, regret. This is not me at my best. So I will finish out this contract, but no more am I going to say that that's a window of availability. And I think I learned that, but I can get even more crystal clear with like, what are the windows where I'm at my best and want to be serving.
Yeah. And Marissa, that brings up one more good point for me. You all are going to want to have your operating principles in your business. Most of them come from a client experience. You will name the client, your operating principle, that client's name. So it's like, oh, my operating principle is named whatever Marissa's client's name is. And what it means is I don't take clients after this time. There is no better way to connect the dots than from an experience that you've actually learned from. I have a few that it's like, oh yeah, no, this is that person's operating principle. I just don't do that anymore, because this is the way that we learn. So have your business operating principles. When we work for companies, there are operating principles. Okay. Anyone else? Takeaways. The one thing you're walking with. Michael.
Yeah. I've already started doing this, like tweaking my calendar to like, marketing this day and then clients. And then, so that's already kind of been in place. But one thing that I'm starting to realize is like, what I'm not that good at and is taking a bunch of my time versus what I'm good at and is either invigorating or is actually making me money, and staying as much as I can in what, like that sweet spot of like, I'm good at this, I enjoy it, it's helping me make money. If it's not, 2 out of 3 of those things, then I should probably find somebody else to do it or just drop it.
Yeah, good. Another takeaway tonight. All right, I'm seeing your chats. I have a client that created quite a bit of the operating systems for me. Yeah, okay, so these are good. And it's always good to be with you. Put your comments in the Coaching for Coaches group, and let's really see what comes up for the way that you define success. Christy will put a prompt in there for you so that you can really be talking about that. And when you're thinking about your perfect coaching practice, who do you want to be? Because that's really the most important. You have the power to choose that. All right, everyone, I'll put my sombrero back on. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Have a good night. Go eat a taco.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Thank you. See you guys later.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Hi, or a margarita. Bye.
Bye, Margarita. That's right. Bye, everyone.